we'll start off by saying, you are the sweetheart of St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean, this town has really rallied around you, rallied around your family. Wanted to give you the opportunity to say what you want to say to the community here in St. Louis.
Really just thank you. I mean, there's not really anything else I could really say because I was just going through so much, and I really didn't know what everybody was doing for me at the time. But now hearing it, it's just, I'm grateful for it. So.
The community, when it first happened in SLU, we were in SLU, they were amazing. People reached out from not just the St. Louis community, but many, many people from here reached out to help us and do anything they could. It was so trying. We were, lost in her medical part of this and the emotional part of it, but just if we needed it, it was there. If we didn't have to ask for help in anything.
James, I wanted to extend that opportunity to you too. Did you want to say anything about what it's been like? I mean, you guys can hardly go 20 feet without someone stopping you and saying hello and offering kind words.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the night of that horrible accident, we were so traumatized and didn't know Janae gonna make it. But once we got to kind of like the thumbs up that she was gonna make it, and everyone from the nurses, the doctors, they were overpowering us with so much love. And just from that point on, once our story hit the airways that Sunday morning, and everywhere we went, I mean, from that point on, people just knew who we were. So from that initial, from the accident until that next morning, it was like everybody knew us, and it was great. So it was pretty amazing that the support went that quick.
What's it been like for you, Janae? I mean, people are probably stopping you. They know you on a first name basis.
Yeah. It gets overwhelming at times, but again, I'm grateful for it because it's also helped me to keep pushing and just telling myself just keep going because this isn't going to stop me or it's not going to be permanent. I'm going to get back to how I was before, even though it's different. It's going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, you've become such an inspiration for so many people, too. Yeah. So tell me what this last year has been like with some of the opportunities that you've been able to get. You told me about a Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah, it was, and that's still kind of like the highlight of this whole thing, because we're like season ticket holders for the Atlanta Falcons, and once her story, actually I was talking to our agent, and I think I told him, I was asking him about ADA seating, because I knew the season was upcoming and hopefully she would be ready to go to the game. How can I told him the story of Janae, and then initially he sent her at the hospital at Stalwart a Falcon kit. Mm-hmm. Her jersey with a name on it, all kinds of little trinkets in that box.
My number on it. It had number 3 on it. It had my name. It had all these cup holders of Falcon things and stickers that they sent to me. So yeah. Yeah,
and then in that same moment, I guess that same time frame, Taylor Swift was on tour. Mm-hmm. We got a thing called the Eras Tour. And then we got a call from Mr. Blank's, I don't know if it was executive secretary or whoever that was, I can't remember who she was, but she called me and said that Mr. Blank want to offer Janae 4 tickets to Taylor Swift and to be able to use, and she can use his suite. And of course she accepted it, and we went to that concert. It was a great concert. She put on a really great show. And then I think also the USA Olympic volleyball team heard of her story as well, and they want to made an offer.
Invited her to camps.
Invited her to camp, and at the time she wasn't ready for it, and she's still pushing to get back to that level. But they continue to send her emails and keep her up to date on where the camps are at and so forth.
She also had the Tennessee statue.
Yeah, the state, the Senate, the Tennessee Senate gave her a referendum a referendum of courage, and they got it signed by the governor, and that's on our on the mantle as well.
Yeah.
Then USA Volleyball gave her the Courage Award, which is going to be awarded in May, I
It's
believe.
May this year.
The Hall of Fame, Volleyball Hall of Fame in Columbus, Ohio. So we got, I think it's May 23rd, that she's been offered. She was given the Courage Award that they're going to give it to her. One of the things that I think ESPN did an interview with her from the first game with Liberty, with MTSU.
She's a manager with MTSU Volleyball, and they did an interview with her.
The nuns of St. Louis sent her,
What else?
Adaran or something.
I'm not sure.
The nuns of St. Louis sent her the, what it was, Adaran or?
So when this happened, talking about the community support, it was the St. Louis community, it was the volleyball community, it was just people in the community we never knew from all over the country. When we went home from the hospital, we have a room, it's probably about 16 by 16. We just had boxes of stuff and gifts that she received that they sent to her Mid-10 volleyball organization. And it was
filled with everything.
it was so impactful for her to know how much people cared.
Yeah, there was some pretty touching cards sent to her and explaining, and just saying what an inspiration she was to them when they heard of her story.
She had colleges send her volleyballs. She had 8-year-olds write her little hand cards that she read. It was just from all over, all different kind of aspects. It was pretty amazing.
I think it was from like Arizona.
It really helps you pull through that because there's a lot of emotion, and it really helped both of us.
Yeah,
All three
it
of
was
us.
U.S. It was across the country. She was getting cards of support, and what inspiration, what an inspiration she is to them after seeing her story. And it's kind of like took like a wildfire across the whole U.S. And it was amazing, as Francine says, that so many people even continue to send her stuff, cards and stuff. She just got enough.
On the 1-year anniversary, she got a lot of stuff.
Got a lot of stuff, and people remember that.
And
This
you
is
know,
the day.
it's that handwritten card that people sent that was so important, like to know that people cared about you.
So you read them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Now to be honest, it's hard to respond to all that, but our gratitude is overwhelming. You know, it's just, how do you go through something so tragic and survive it and thrive in it as she has? And it's because, you know, she's a strong warrior, don't get me wrong, but with all the backing of the people and the community, that just makes you so much more stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I think that homecoming, Light Up the Night, was one of the main events. When you say that, really, I know it touched me, and that's when the city of Smyrna welcomed her back because no one had seen her.
Yeah.
Because
Her
she's been in
school,
St. Louis
it was great.
the first 3 weeks, and then she went to Vanderbilt for 2 more weeks, and then she went to rehab, and no one saw her other than her volleyball team and so forth.
And like close friends, they came to visit me a lot. Like after school, they would come and see me. On weekends, they would stay there probably all day with me, just because they knew like I was alone and only had my parents and like sister. So
Sure.
yeah.
And for a 17, 18-year-old,
Yeah.
that's the point in your life where you're trying to
want to
branch
be with
out.
your parents all the time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the verdict.
Mm-hmm.
Janae, what is your reaction to the verdict?
I was pleased that he was found guilty with pretty much everything that he was charged with, but at the end of the day, like, he has legs. I don't. So he doesn't have to. Go through what I have to go through just to get back to even walking. And so it's never going to be enough, in my opinion. It never will be. But it's just something I have to accept and just move on forward with whatever that was given to him. But Mom.
So I'm pleased he was convicted, and I thank the jury for that conviction. I don't know how he would have been able to have accepted what we've been through if he hadn't been found not guilty of anything related to her. So I'm indebted for that conviction. I'm disappointed that he didn't get the max in every case, because like James said, his impact statement, the max is not enough. The max can never replace what she's lost or what she has to endure for the rest of her life. She's only 18 years old, and that's a lot of life to live. And so for me, I'm still grateful, but I feel like there should be more action, more consequences. If not for her at this time, there has to be an impact in this community. There has to be change so that there's not another Janae Edmondson having to deal with this her whole life and someone only get less than 18 years. The crime does not fit the full punishment. The law should be harder. There should be more to it, and that needs to be looked at, because how can you take her whole life, her whole opportunity? Don't get me wrong, she's going to be great and she's going to conquer the world in a new fashion. But the world she planned, the path she wanted, was ripped away from her by his recklessness. And how many recklessness cases can happen here before there's something done? Like, should not be the straw that broke the back here, and it should not happen again. And I know there's been other actions. The week we were in SLU, 1 week after she was hit, there was a group of teenagers in an SUV that got hit by a car and turned over an overpass. Kids died. How are we not addressing that more firmly? That's what I feel about it.
Do you think that more needs to be done here in St. Louis when it comes to pedestrian safety and road safety?
Oh, no doubt. Based on what I've heard since this horrible accident, it's kind of like it's been echoed that this city is designed for cars to go fast and no regard for traffic laws or signs, which has been proven by Janae's accident, and even to the one that Francine referenced, and even to the ladies that just got killed, unfortunately, several weeks ago.
At the Drake concert?
At the Drake concert. So a lot need to be done. Her case was the tip of the iceberg that started the chain reaction to kind of clean up the Justice Department. But people here, since we've been here and since this accident, has constantly said that the city needs to change, and they need to change the laws and start holding these kids accountable. And to your question earlier about how did I feel about the verdict, this verdict should have been a signal to all these kids that are out there breaking the laws.
Should have been harder.
You are going to be held accountable. And the year should be severe enough for them to make them think twice. 18 years, we accept that because that's what the law gave us or required to do. But I think with the way the city is being ran, the traffic laws, they need to revisit that law. Armed criminal actions, they need to give it more weight and be expanded more to get the judges and the jury more leverage to increase the punishment.
Like, does the law fit the crime?
Yeah.
I guess that's the bottom line. Does the law fit the crime that happened to her? It doesn't. It doesn't. There should have been more.
What
It should have been
about,
stronger. It should have been harder.
what about the moment you all found out that the man responsible for this should have been on house arrest, should have gone to trial 7 months before this happened to you? What was that like?
That was
It
heartbreaking.
was a
when-
slap in the face.
That was, I mean, it was heartbreaking
me.
to me, be honest with you, to find out that this kid, I'm gonna call him a kid because he was 21 and I'm a pretty old guy, but to be out on bond, has violated his tracker so many times, and for the Justice Department to oversee that.
No action.
No actions.
There was no consequences for anything that he has done. He had not served any consequences. We teach our children, you may have choices you make. You can ask her. She's been told that her all of them, the whole life.
we preach that.
Whatever you choose, you end up with the consequences for. So you can choose good or you can choose bad. Well, you have to take action. So inaction is just as bad. That you have to be responsible for your consequences for your inaction in certain case. That's what I feel like the city has done. Inaction toward him.
Can I have one thing? I just want to ask that question to Janae too. You know, what was it like for you to find out that this guy had repeatedly violated his bond with no consequences? He was supposed to be on house arrest, and he was supposed to have gone to trial. What was that like?
I was angry because I see it as my sister, she just turned 21. She's pretty much his age. And I just think of it as like, if that was my sister out here just acting so recklessly, I'd tell her like, what is wrong with you? Like, get it together. So it's just like angry and just annoying that someone so close to my sister's age is just out here just acting like,
Running the street.
yeah,
Did you feel like the circuit attorney's office failed you?
yes,
100%.
yes.
A big time, I think. I knew that all the prior violations that these criminals had done prior to Janae's accident, and hers was, as I said, was the tip of the iceberg. I knew, based on all of the gravity of this accident, it seemed to me that someone had to be a GOAT, and Kim Gardner was the GOAT to me. A lot of other people factored into Riley being on the street, but she was the one that was manning the ship.
She
So
was
she
the
had to
leader.
go.
It was her responsibility
There's a
too.
lot of other factors, but to me, it's like it was so many other people in that rank of justice that failed us and also failed the city's
Of
the citizen
inaction.
of St. Louis.
Plus the fact that let's be honest, how can you do one job if you're at a school getting a degree? You know, you're not doing your job.
Not focused on it.
There was no focus on
Her
Daniel
priorities
Riley's. I've heard 50, I've heard 90-something violations of GPS. I'm not sure of the exact number, but either of those numbers is excessive.
First violation,
That he should have been in jail. When we were at St. Louis University Hospital with her, 2 weeks we were there. In the 2 weeks we were there, it happened on a Saturday night. On Tuesday, we had to go to a bond hearing to keep him in jail. A week later, on the following Monday, we had to go back because he got 2 opportunities to bond out. Someone who has already had multiple GPS violations, hit another person, caused this trauma to her. We had to go to court to keep him in jail for that. Why is he not in jail already for his previous conviction or violations and whatever's going on in
he
his
should have been
criminal
revoked.
activity?
Shouldn't have been a
So,
bond.
do I
offer
feel
from my
like we've
perspective.
been failed? Absolutely, she's been failed. She's been failed tremendously
Citizen of St. Louis was failed
by
as
the
well.
city.
You know, all of it.
You've been keeping up with St. Louis news. You know about the $40 million coming into this community.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
So March of '23, the mayor signed a $40 million safety of our streets, I don't know, agenda, referendum, whatever it's called, I don't know, $40 million to supply for
To
that,
improve to improve the streets
to improve.
safety.
From what I've read and what I've seen, they're at like a 300,000 usage. It's been a year. So what are we doing? We've done nothing to stop someone else. This could have been anybody's daughter, anybody's sister, anybody's aunt. It could be another person on the street with all these tournaments. And what are you doing? So you can either make excuses or you can take action. So it's saying, oh, this takes a long time. It's a year. We've done quite a bit in a year. And we've had a job too and worked and done what we needed to do. But we've done a whole nother aspect of something. How can you not pass stuff in a year?
But not only that.
How can you not get things going to protect people?
Even though she got that bill passed, then it became political based on what I've read and the research that I've done. The aldermen of St. Louis don't agree with some of the things that they want to do. So it's a tug of war of getting these projects started. And then the actual program manager is saying, like, we're going to project started, but you won't see the results until years down the road. But there are a lot of things that they can do right now by narrowing the streets and so forth that they can do right now that haven't been done.
Change signage.
So all of that kind of just kind of bubbles up, and now from what I've seen, read, it's political now. It's just like a tug of war. The mayor's saying, I got the 40 million approved, and here's what I want to do. And the aldermen are saying, like, well, we don't agree with that. Safety-wise, we don't agree with that. And now they're going back and forth, but the money's just sitting there.
Yeah, to be honest, the political has to come out of that. You have to do it for your people. It's the people's city. How many, all these signs, so the sign got changed from a yield to a stop sign at the very intersection that Daniel Riley ran that. That should have already been done. So what has the city done since then to check all the signage? So there's a lot of volleyball tournaments still going on with other little kids now. I mean, are we waiting for something else? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of responsibility in making sure your community's safe. I saw a report just the other day. I don't even know the street here, but the people themselves, the community members here, were talking about how unsafe it is to cross, that you can only cross a certain way at a certain time. And I'm like, that just shouldn't be how, you shouldn't be living in fear. We've had so many people walk up to us and say, you know, if the light's green, I still stop because I don't know if somebody's coming. That's how,
pretty much
how they operate from a day to day because of their fear. And you know, that comes from action of the city.
You all are suing the city for some accountability here as well.
Jeez.
What is that? What has that process been like? Has the city responded?
I think morally is the main thing that kind of affects me because of first knowing that that yield sign shouldn't have been there and should have been a proper signage, the proper sign there, and for them just not morally think that she's going to have medical attention the rest of her life. She's going to have prosthetics replaced every 4 to 6 years. She's going to have maintenance to her legs. And no one in the city, from my perspective, even considered that and try to appease the situation or offer, say, yeah, this young lady's going to need some help for the rest of her life, and make an offering, and they never even consider that. And that's really hard, a lot of heartburn that I feel about that.
So in any legal situation, there's discovery. I don't know why her attorney had to go to court in the last month to ask the city to respond. Why have they not responded? It's been a year, and you've not responded to her attorney's request for information? Why should he have to be going back to court? I don't understand that.
And her story is so powerful.
And I don't understand, like, there's just nothing how can you give no response at all to the situation of her?
I can tell you the day that Janae got hit and pinned, and we went to SLO, and then we had to do that first bond hearing, which I think that he's required 48 hours to have his initial bond. We went to the same courthouse, the Carnahan courthouse, did the hearing, they revoked his bond, and the DA, I forgot his name, took us upstairs to meet Kim Gardner. That was the first time we met her. She just said, she introduced herself and said if there's anything that we need to let her know. She never came to the hospital. The mayor never reached out to the hospital. It was no one from that perspective reached out to the hospital to see how she was doing. And to me, that was a slap in the face to us. And then for her to have to sue the city to get some type of compensatory to help her for her rest of her life, and then to reject that is another slap in the face. And everyone in this whole city and across that knows
To
about the
just
story
ignore it.
just ignored it. And that's the thing that really burns inside of me, is that you see what happened to her. It wasn't her fault. This guy violated. Your administration failed her. Your city failed her, and now you don't want to offer anything. And I think that is so wrong morally that they take that stance.
Janae, in closing, I wanted to ask you if you have a message for other young adults, even adults, that are coping with a new path in life they weren't expecting, like you are. What words do you have for people that are in your same situation?
That's hard.
I guess, in other words, where do you find when it's so challenging to even open your eyes in the morning? Because you're immediately hit with your reality.
I think to myself of these long-term goals that I make. So my birthday's coming up. By that time, I want to be up and walking to like a certain amount throughout the day. So I have these goals that I look forward to that help me just like keep pushing myself. And then I also have the people around me that help with that. And so I guess just these goals that I make for myself, like mental notes too, that just keep me going, because I know I'm not going to be stuck in this, like in a wheelchair. I'm not going to. So me keeping that same like mentality of like, I'm not going to be like this forever. I'm going to be up, walking, doing everything I was before with my friends or like whoever it is. It's just those like little goals that I make that help me.